It's 6 p.m. on Wednesday, July the 15th, 2026, and I call this hearing to order. I will first read the township land acknowledgement. The township of Adjala-Tosorontio is situated on the lands within Treaty 18, being the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe peoples, including the Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations, collectively known as the Three Fires Confederacy. This land is home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We acknowledge Indigenous peoples as stewards of the land, and we honor their resilience as well as their culture, and of our shared respect for the lands, plants, animals, and waterways which sustains us all. We recognize the injustices against Indigenous peoples and are mindful that the decisions of government impact our shared land and all the inhabitants. We commit to reconciliation as a journey, foster Indigenous cultural awareness and educational opportunities, establish respectful and healthy relations with Indigenous peoples, continue to steward the land and its inhabitants, and to cultivate an inclusive community for all. The purpose of this evening's hearing is to consider the applications listed on the agenda requesting a consent or minor variance to the township's zoning bylaw. The input we receive from agencies, the public, and staff is important to ensure the committee makes well-informed planning decisions. For each application listed on today's agenda, the hearing procedure will be as follows. Staff will provide a brief explanation of the application. The applicant or their agent will be asked to provide any comments. Comments from members of the public will be heard or read aloud by the Secretary-Treasurer. And following all submissions, the committee will consider all comments and agenda materials when making a decision on an application. Should you wish to be notified of the decision, you must file a written request with the Secretary-Treasurer. The first item for today is adoption of the agenda. The next item of business is item 2.1. The recommendation reads that the agenda for the Committee of Adjustment hearing held on Wednesday, July 15th, 2026 be adopted as presented. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? John and Julius. All those in favor? The motion is carried. The next item is disclosure of pecuniary interest. Are the any disclosures of pecuniary interest in any of the items today? No? That was good to see. There are none. And now the adoption of the minutes from the last meeting. Are there any questions on the minutes? Any discussion? No. So the minutes, the motion is the minutes for the Committee of Adjustment meeting June 17th, 2026 to be adopted as presented. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Julius and John. Thank you. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next point, item number 5, are the first of the submissions. This 5.1 is submission A-12-26, the property at 2627 Concession Road 2, Adjala-Tosorontio. Kartik, would you give us an overview, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The subject property is a 19.92 hectare, 49.22 acre rural parcel at 2627 Concession Road 2. Containing an existing dwelling and accessory residential uses. The proposed accessory structure is located within a previously disturbed area over 160 meters from the front lot line and will utilize the existing driveway, avoiding the need for new access, significant vegetation removal, or major site grading. An NVCA permit will be required through the building permit process. Given the size of the property, existing site conditions, and limited potential for the adverse impacts, staff are satisfied that the proposal meets the 4 tests of Planning Act and recommend approval subject to the conditions outlined in the report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there an agent or applicant like to provide any comments on this application? No? Any members of the public present to provide a comment? No. Did we receive any written comments from the public?
No written comments were received.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this application from members of the committee? No? No? So we will now move on to, oh, sorry, Ron.
This, it's supposed to be in front, they're requesting it's in front of the existing buildings?
Yeah.
Through Madam Chair, yes, that's the application is for.
And there's no there's no way that they can put that building anywhere else on the property? It has to be in front of the, because we're trying to keep away from that.
Through Madam Chair, the applicant wants to, he doesn't want to extend the driveway, and they want to use the already established access, and the site is already disturbed. The trees are already cleared in that area, and for placing it on the side yard, there is already significant covers on the side yard. The only option is behind the dwelling. There is a septic bed at the back, and they might have to remove few trees and do environmental study to explore other locations. Thank you.
It's still 160 meters, I think, from the road, if that's, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's a,
160 meters, what's that, 600 feet?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
And it will be close to the house then. All right, do we have any other questions or comments? We move to a vote on this one. Do I have a move on to a decision for application A-12-26? I will read the decision for the committee's consideration. In the matter of subsection 45-1 of the Planning Act, and in the matter of concession 2 South Part Lot 14 in the township of Adjala-Tosorontio, county of Simcoe, and in the matter of the application Geordie Moulton as owners of the aforesaid land for minor variance under the Planning Act. And whereas the Township of Adjala-Tosorontio's Committee of Adjustment, having conferred with all applicable agencies and persons as prescribed by the Planning Act, and having had regard to permit a proposed 111.5 square meter or 1,200 square foot accessory structure garage within the front yard of the subject property, whereas Section 3.4E2 of the zoning bylaw 03-57 requires accessory structures in all zones other than residential zones to be located within the rear yard or interior side yard. And do I have a mover and a seconder for approval? Horace, Ron, all those in favor? Okay. Motion is carried. Thank you. Next item, 5.2, A-13-26, the property at 7501 Fifth Side Road, Adjala-Tosorontio. Kartik, would you please tell us about this one?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The proposal is to permit a 167.58 meter square accessory structure, which is approximate 1800 square feet, consisting of a garage, gym, and storage room to be located in the front yard, whereas zoning bylaw 2115 permits a maximum accessory structure of size 140 square meters and require accessory structure associated with residential use to be located in the rear or interior yard. The variance represents an increase of 27.58 meters square, which is approximate 19.7% of the permitted maximum. The proposed building footprint represents approximately 0.40% of the total area. The proposed location represents the most suitable area for the development, having regard for the location of existing dwelling, septic system, well, and surrounding natural heritage features. Staff note that alternate locations, particularly within the rear yard, would result in greater encroachment into areas identified as significant woodlands and could lead to additional vegetational removal and land disturbance. Staff are the opinion that the requested variance satisfy the fourth test and recommend approval subject to the conditions outlined in the report. Thank you.
Okay, do we have the applicant or agent to make any comments? No?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Madam Chair, committee members, my name's Bill Plewis. I'm the agent for the owner of the property. The owner is wanting to build this garage, and we did look at the property prior to placing this on the site, and we're cognizant of the fact that we're trying to not disturb any other lands on the property and remove any other trees. So the really only place for this structure is at the end of the laneway where the laneway comes up towards the house. It's a dead end laneway. Then you go to the left of the laneway is where the house is. So right at the end of the laneway is the most suitable spot for this structure. We understand that it is in the front of the house. It faces towards the front of the road rather, but there's such a heavy tree line there that you can't see the house or the garage from the road anyways. And we did not want to have to remove any trees. There are 2 trees that are being removed that are blue spruce trees that were planted when the house was built. So unfortunately, they've gotten to the point where they're too big to move now. So we will have to remove those 2 trees, but those are the only 2 trees that are going to be removed, and there will not be any other damage to any other outlying trees. Everything else is far enough away from that building envelope. I just wanted to also just make note that I really wanted to thank the planning department for their help along this way. They've made the whole process for us very simple to do, and just wanted to extend my appreciation for that.
Thank you.
And that's it.
Thank you on behalf of the planning department. That's very nice to hear. Are there any questions from members of the committee? Did we receive any public comments?
No comments were
No
received.
comments? All right. Any other discussion on this item? No. Okay. So we can move into a decision for application A-13-26. I'll read the decision for the committee consideration. In the matter of subsection 45(1) of the Planning Act, and in the matter of concession 7, part lot 5 in the township of Adjala-Tosorontio, county of Simcoe, and in the matter of the application of Michael Pizzal as owners of the aforesaid land for minor variance under the Planning Act. And whereas the Township of Adjala-Tosorontio's Committee of Adjustment, having conferred with all applicable agencies and persons as prescribed by the Planning Act, and having had regard to permit a proposed 167.58 meters squared, or 1,803.9 square feet, accessory structure consisting of a garage, gym, and storage room to be located within the front yard. Whereas zoning bylaw number 21-15, amending zoning bylaw number 03-56, permits a maximum accessory structure size of 140 meters squared, that's 1,507 square feet, and requires accessory structures associated with residential uses to be located within the rear yard or interior side yard. So that is that we're voting to allow the larger size and the location of this one, right? So do I have a mover and seconder for approval of this application? John, the seconder, Horace, thank you. All those in favor? Okay, the motion is carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is 5.3, application A-14-26, the property at 8914, the 10th Side Road of Adjala. Kartik, would you tell us about this one, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The proposed structure is intended solely for residential purposes, including vehicle storage, personal storage, and workshop accessory to the principal dwelling. The building includes a partial loft area resulting in 1.5-story design. The loft is intended for storage purposes only and does not constitute any habitable floral space. An NVCA permit may be required subject to review of detailed plans to be submitted at building permit stage. The proposal represents an increase of 24.8 meters square, or approximate 17% above the permitted maximum, and approximately 0.16% of the total lot area. Staff are satisfied that requested variance to permit a proposed 164.8 square meter 1.5-story garage to be located within the front yard should be approved subject to the conditions outlined in the planning report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Would the applicant or agent, is there an applicant or agent here to provide any more information? Oh, okay, thank you. Are members of the public present that would like to provide a comment? No. Did we receive any written comments?
No written comments were
Thank
received.
you very much. Are there any questions from members of the committee? No? You're all right? Ron, any questions on this one? Okay. All right, so we move on to a decision. Application A-1426-26. In the matter of subsection 45-1 of the Planning Act, and in the matter of concession 2, West Part Lot 11 in the Township of Adjala-Tosorontio, County of Simcoe. And in the matter of the application Corey and Drina Klempner as owners of the aforesaid land for minor variance under the Planning Act. And whereas the Township of Adjala-Tosorontio's Committee of Adjustment, having conferred with all applicable agencies and persons as prescribed by the Planning Act, and having had regard to permit a proposed 164.8 meters squared, or 1,773.8 square feet, 1.5-story garage to be located within the front yard. Whereas zoning bylaw number 03-56, as amended, permits a maximum building area of 140 meters squared, or 1,500 square feet, and requires structures associated with residential uses to be located within the rear yard or interior side yard pursuant to section 3.4E1, and whereas zoning bylaw number 21-15 permits buildings greater than 75 meters squared to have a maximum height of 1 story. Can I have a mover and seconder for approval, please? John and Julius. All those in favor, the motion is carried. Thank you. All right, the next item is 5.4, application A-15-26, the property at 1713 Concession Road 2, Adjala-Tosorontio. Kartik, would you please explain this one to us?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The application proposes to expand the existing legal non-conforming camp use by adding a 54.4 meter square addition to the north side of the building and 301.5 meter square two-story addition to the west side to provide additional assembly and gymnasium space. The township has previously recognized the property's legal non-conforming camp use, including associated accommodations, dining, recreational, religious, and conference activities. No new principal use is proposed, and the camp will continue to operate as the principal use. Staff recommend approval of application 8-15-26, subject to conditions requiring the approval be limited to the recognized camp and accessory uses, that the owner obtain site plan approval before development proceeds, and the legality of all the existing buildings and structures be confirmed to the township's satisfaction, and that any issues identified through the site plan approval process be addressed through the appropriate planning approvals if needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Would the applicant or agent like to provide any comments regarding this application? Do we have someone?
Yes. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of committee. Trust you can hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. So my name is Rob Russell. I'm with Robert Russell Planning Consultants. I'm an authorized agent on behalf of the Paul Gray Fellowship of Christians for this application. I have a very brief presentation, which I will bring up right now. Once I find which window it was I had it open in. Bear with me a moment here. Sorry about this. I have it ready to go. I just have to find it. Okay. All right. So there is something going on where I cannot find the window that I have open. So I'll do this. I'll share a screen instead. I'll just have to flip this over. Sorry about this. It has worked many, many times before. I'm not sure why it's not working now the way I wanted it to. Anyway, sorry about the delay. So as Mr. Salaires Kartik has indicated, this is an existing legal non-conforming use. It's at 1713 Concession Road 2. It was established, well, first of all, actually, I'll go slide by slide. Here's a general overview context of the subject property. It's just north of Side Road 5 on Concession Road 2. Here's the more site specific, where you can see the existing camp use here in sort of the, I guess, the northwest diagonal half of the property, where the southeast half of the property is then vegetated, has wetlands mapped as per the provincial mapping database, and you can see the numerous structures associated with the camp that have been there for many years. Here is the proposed site plan, and I've highlighted where the proposed additions are in the blue here, with the existing building being in the gray. The parking area, there are changes proposed to that. That's not part of this application, but will be reviewed through the site plan, future site plan.
I'm
in terms
sorry,
of,
excuse me, just a second. What did you just say? What was not part of the parking lot? Okay, thank you.
yes, yeah. So the camp, as I started to say before, the camp was established in 1974, which was previous to the an official plan that was approved later in 74, which designated as rural. OPA 12 was approved in 83, which designated as institutional, recognizing that the camp had permits issued for it in 74. When the Oak Rivers Moraine Conservation Plan was enacted, it, of course, designated the property as natural linkage, which was then the township OP was amended to in conformity with the Oak Ridges Moraine plan. The natural linkage area itself does not permit this type of use. However, Oak Ridges Moraine Policy 6.1b allows for existing uses to continue. So nothing in this plan applies to prevent the use of any land, building, or structure for a purpose prohibited by this plan if the land, building, or structure was lawfully used for that purpose on November 15th, 2001, and continues to be used. The camp has been operating continuously since 1974 and was lawfully established. Further to that policy, the next part of that policy, which is 6 subsection 2, indicates that the plan, nothing in the Oak Ridges Moraine Plan applies to prevent the expansion of an existing or building or structure on the same lot if there's no change in the use, if the expansion will not adversely affect the ecological integrity of the plan area. Policy 6 subsection 4 provides essentially the same thing, but specifically for institutional uses, where 6 subsection 2 is for all uses that were lawfully established. 6 subsection 4 is specifically institutional. So in terms of discussion and how we meet those policies, and those policies are carried forward in the county and the township official plans as well. So the Oak Ridges Moraine Conservation Plan establishes that if the proposed enlargement does not affect the ecological integrity, such an enlargement would comply with the Oak Ridges Moraine Conservation Plan and may be approved. There was, and I'm not sure if staff had a chance to review, I did just send a document that I thought I had submitted with the original application, but it turns out I found out about 30 minutes ago I failed to. But it essentially contained a policy-based natural heritage evaluation, which I will go back a few slides, which will help me. Oops, I have to try that one more time again. So if you see on here, this is the building that's proposed for the enlargement. The distance from this building to all this wooded area to these wetland areas are over 150 meters away. These are the natural heritage features that are closest to the proposed work. The Oak Ridges Moraine Conservation Plan requires a natural heritage evaluation if you're within 120 meters. So although we haven't been on site, haven't staked this out, the measurement using the aerial photos is a minimum of 150 meters. And although there's some inaccuracies with aerial photos, they're generally, you can count on them to be accurate within 30 meters for sure. So where this work is so far distant from any natural heritage features that the Oak Ridges Moraine Conservation Plan doesn't actually require a natural heritage evaluation. But my planning analysis included a policy-based description and analysis primarily based on that. So the wetlands were approximately 150 meters away, the woodlands 120, the watercourses flowing from those wetlands approximately 200 meters away. And this is all based on the provincial databases available through Land Information Ontario. And the area of the proposed building expansion is also outside of the NVCA regulated area, so permits aren't required for them for the building expansion. But when we get to the site plan and need to make some changes to parking, it is likely we will need to, it will trigger the need for an NVCA permit. There was one more thing I was planning to mention, and that is that the size of the building addition, so the total of those two areas that Kartik had mentioned is 356 square meters. The property is 20.6 hectares. So effectively, these building expansions amount to 0.002% of the site area. And it seems reasonable that such a small change to the site will not have any measurable impact on the ability of plants or animals to move between natural areas, which is the purpose of these linkages, and that there's a substantial amount of the property that remains undeveloped and won't be affected by the proposed expansion. Then the last point I was going to make is that, so I mentioned specifically the Oak Ridge Domain Conservation Plan policies. The policies within the township official plan that effectively provide the same restrictions or same allowances is a 4.12.1.2, which allows the continued use of any land, building, or structure if the use is established prior to November 15th, 2001. And policy 4.12.1.5, subsection 3, permits the expansion of an existing building or structure if the use will not change and if the expansion does not affect the ecological integrity of the Oak Ridge Moraine plan area, which I've already discussed. I was just highlighting where these same policies are in the township official plan. So with that being said, that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there, before the committee members ask questions, I'm sure there are some, are there any members of the public present that would like to provide a comment on this application? Yes, would you come forward, please, to the microphone?
Trying to find.
Could you give us your name and address,
Yeah,
please,
just a
for the
sec. We're just
record?
getting our stuff out. It's fine.
Just a minute.
Yeah,
So,
thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This is Marilyn, and I'm Jim, and we're the Hillses. We live at 90045 Side Road. Our northern boundary abuts the southern boundary of 1713 Concession Road 2. We object to the proposed expansion of the legal non-conforming use at the property of 1713 Concession 2 Adjala. I guess I should have started off, I must apologize for my letter I sent. It was kind of here and there, it wasn't really well done, so I'm going to try to embellish it and make it a little more clear, or maybe not, I don't know. So we believe the uses outlined in a letter from K. Dugmore dated August the 2nd, 2001, should be the uses allowed on the property for the following reasons. So we need to, where's my other piece here? I guess the application says established multi-use church building. I see in the report it's now been changed to a multi-use building. The notice reflects the purchase year of 1999, so I think we should have a little bit of a timeline here of what's going on there when they owned it. So in early May of 2001, a sign at the property with a website advertising uses of RV, tent camping, catering of any size, 150-seat restaurant, conventions and conference centers, etc. I met with Dugmore, and she was quite surprised at the scope and uses.
I just want to say, Doug Moore was the planner at the time
At the time, sorry.
of this.
You have the letter, I think.
Okay.
She asked me to send a letter to council, copy her and the bylaw officer. Later in May, Tim Van Stralen shows up at my place with my letter, saying maybe the website was a bit much. Would he be okay with me renting to religious groups? I was non-committal, and he left a bit annoyed. In June, they made a rezoning application. There was some council meetings. I asked to see the uses wanted at the planning office and refused by a Jerry, and said it was with the town lawyer and was confidential. I guess at the same point, the Oak Ridges Moraine freeze of the planning applications took place. In August of 2001, this letter of that's what's allowed at the camp shows up in my mailbox. I do not know when Doug Moore left. Never heard any more about a rezoning. So I guess they found a planner that would cater to them, and her name was Caterer. So this multi-use church building, now in the report, a multi-use building, was never established before the Oak Ridges Moraine bylaw enactment. Call it what it was. When it was constructed, when it was purchased, when the uses allowed document came out, and what it is now, a sports complex. A principal use of a property is formed by what the land and the buildings are used for. An accessory use is subordinate and should exclusively be devoted to the primary use. Changing a building's use, name, based on some accessory use, religious conferences, worship services, meetings, assemblies, whatever, changes the principal use. You're changing the building, you're changing the principal use. Multi-use buildings is not defined anywhere in the zoning bylaw, and probably not the official plan. But camp, sport, and recreations are. I think the sports complex is the largest building, I guess, makes it the principal building, and I guess the principal use. Changing a use and a name to a non-recreational use could cause some problems. That might even help them. I don't know.
Can you add that to your letter?
Yep. In 2006, 2007, cabins were constructed or reconfigured to accommodate more than the stated number of their non-conforming uses. 3 cabins went from 15 to 24 beds, and another 3 cabins went from 15 to 48. There was no notice or public meeting for the expansion of the legal non-conforming use. It was never received by any neighbors. I'll be fair here, only the top floor of one of the 3 buildings that were the 2 stories is available for rent by the advertising in their website. Okay. My wife questioned the bigger cabins, now 2 stories, at the township office, was basically yelled at by Jerry Cater, saying the same number of beds, nothing here, turns
To the bylaw officer?
Turns to the bylaw officer, and same, yep, right, sir, yep, that same number. The pad and the footprint size changed on 3. I do kind of remember a demolition permit saying that 6 cabins were going to be demolished, but maybe Maryland's inquiry did something. Okay, in August of in the August 2001 letter of uses permitted, states 4 cabins for a groundskeeper and staff according to the camp's website. One of these cabins is now a general store, which is a change in use of the building, intensifying the nonconformance of the property. Again, no notice provided. I do not know which year this was. I got a flyer in my mailbox about a craft sale. And then it stated, while you're here, drop into our cafe for a dessert, or the general store for the ice cream. Looked at the website, and yes, there was a general store. So in September of 2011, construction of a sports field was started without notice to the neighboring properties for their concerns of location, noise, truck traffic, etc. The field is serviced with lights, sprinklers, and a concession stand, the general store. According to the zoning bylaw and the official plan, this construction is not a recognized use in a linkage zone, and the official plan, it should be considered a major development, which would require all sorts of permits and zoning amendments. A service sports field is a major recreational use, not allowed in the linkage conservation zone. I called the township, said the NVCA had issued the permit, called the NVCA, township said it was okay, and there was a buffer. Question the township again in 2014 when the light poles went up. Planner, the new planner, Shellakin, she was about as pleasant, sent me part copy of the August 2000 letter, the part about playing sports on the grounds. Poles are up, but there's no lights. There's no HE because there's no buildings. And a hand-drawn scribble of a site plan showing a soccer field, and it shouldn't bother me. I called the NVCA in 2014. That's when I learned about the NVCA's fill procedure. You see, the one which was for the Oak Ridges Moraine became effective in October 28, 2011. The CAMPS was issued in September of 2011. But I guess the NVCA made it in before the 10-year anniversary of the Oak Ridges Moraine Act. They couldn't tell me how much fill, where it came from, etc. I guess all that you can say it to all the parties involved, great job in the environment. The NVCA probably could have made some money on this, but I guess someone did. Considering its service force field, making it a major recreational use, and new ones are supposed to be located in a rural settlement zone, probably amendments were required. The amount of terrain change, it was like 4 years of fill went in.
May I say something there?
Sure.
There were dump trucks, and they were lined up all across Five Side Road and all the way up to the camp. They couldn't move because there were so many dump trucks. God knows how much does a dump truck hold? Some of the drivers looked at me with pity, and we have no idea where all this fill came from or what it is, what kind of contamination might be in it. Okay, go ahead.
Considering it's a service playing field, making it a major recreational use, and new ones are supposed to be located in the settlement zone, probably amendments required, the amounts of terrain change, etc., could have been considered a major development. So now it is a major recreational use, basically built with a fill permit. So in the notice of the public meeting, it states that they periodically rented it outside groups for similar camp-related uses, which is also stated in the August 2nd, 2001 letter. This is not exactly true. The township all candidates meeting was held there in 2014. It has been a polling station for elections, etc. Yeah, I think there was some OMB hearings there. With respect to the all candidates meeting, my wife attempted to read and allowed uses and asked the candidates attempted to read the allowed uses and asked the candidates if they thought they should be having this event at this property. But she was shut down by the facilitator, Mr. John Greer, and was not allowed to ask the question. Therefore, we consider him biased, and he should recuse himself and anyone else that has a conflict. We consider that because of public hearings not being heard or held, or notices given for the above changes in uses, they are void. The camp website states numerous uses that conflict with the allowed uses as per the August 2nd letter. Example, the cabins with the lower floor private rooms are advertised as overnight availability. It sounds like a motel like for tourists. I presented this information to the township in January 11th, 2015. I said 16 here, but it's 15. And I was told that it would be filed as information. What I have stated here should be on file, but if it isn't, I can provide it. So, just to close. So, changing a building use by an accessory use is changing a principal use, requiring zoning amendments, not a minor variance. The buildings and the land determine the use. That flows down to the accessory uses. It goes that way. It doesn't go up the ladder. The use of the building you're changing is to a multi-use. 356 square meter, 3,831 square foot addition to an 840 square meter, which is a 9,128 square feet, totaling 1,196 square meters, 12,874 square feet. This is a 42% increase, which is excessive and should not be considered minor. A 42% increase to a legal non-conforming building use legal conforming use is excessive. I have a hard time seeing this.
You're good.
A new 500 square building is considered a major development in the zoning bylaw and the official plan. Therefore, the sports complex now is going to be 1,196 square meters, should be considered a major recreational use. Granted, new ones are supposed to be located in the rural settlements, but a 42% bigger one in a linkage zone is excessive. Maybe because it is a legal non-conforming use, some justification should be required. The advertised capacity of the cabins is 168 or 180, wherever you look on the website. It's supposed to be 95 by the user's letter. So what is the capacity of the existing sports park? Is it capable of handling that number, or by a renovation, not the 42% footprint expansion? What will be the capacity of the extended sports complex? Does this become the new number of campers? Back when the sports complex was constructed in 1983, it too was done by a committee of adjustments with a minor variance, which it should not have been. I thought they were maybe in over their heads, big lawyer firm for the other side, but they at least tried to put a limit to the camp, a limit of 90, which is like 6 times 15, 90, which is the capacity of the camp. They wanted the noise limited. I guess they wanted the sports complex not to increase the number of people on the property. The problem with public things of this nature in the country is the noise. Only by controlling numbers and the types of events can this be mitigated. Legal non-conforming use expansions should only be allowed if deemed minor in nature. This is a major intensification. Properties are supposed to go to be more conformity with the zoning bylaw. This property just keeps going further south. This property has a number of expansions already, some major, as a sports field, all without public notification, which is a violation of the Planning Act. So maybe they have received enough expansions of their legal non-conforming uses already. This application should not be considered, it shouldn't even be in front of you. You should turn it down. Thank you for your time and listening to my rant.
Thank you very much. No, thank you very much for all those details of the
And
dates.
you've
It's
got
very
one for
specific.
her. You've got a copy for her.
I do have a copy of that. I just sort of,
It's an addendum to our letter.
just go anywhere to,
Yes, we could give it to Mr. Sally and we'll have it for the record. Thank you.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Do we have any other comments from members of the public?
This was the only comment, Madam Chair, and this comment was made part of the report as well in compressed form,
Yes.
and staff added their response as also in the report for this comment.
Okay. Okay, would you like to say something?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I was just going to say that I was in touch with the Integrity Commissioner, and he said that I do not have a conflict of interest. That was 12 years ago at an all-candidates meeting. We were not allowed to use any schools at that time, and so we had the camp allowed us to have the all-candidates meeting there.
Yes, I remember it well.
Okay.
All right, thank
Thank
you
you.
for that information. Do we have any questions from members of the committee on this application? We heard a long history. I don't know if there are any questions about what happened at various planning departments and at various points.
Can I
John?
just, the sports field, are there league games there, or is it only for recreational service activities when the kids are there for camp, for religious camps? I don't know if he hears.
This is Tim Van Stralen. Can I answer that?
Sure.
Yeah, it's only for the group, the campers that come there. There's no league
Okay.
games.
And, sorry, through you, Madam Chair, is the expansion for,
Say about that. The exact meeting where you told me, where you wouldn't let me speak, Mr. Van Stralen was right behind me.
No, not Tim.
What?
Fred was.
Freddie. And he sort of, kind of, Phil that came in kind of apologized a wee bit about it all, but don't worry about it all because it's gonna be a soccer field. Don't worry about any of that, it's gonna be a soccer field. Thank you.
Okay. The increase of the building size, is that for increase in attendance at the church services, or what's the purpose for increasing the size of the building?
So through the chair to the councillor, no, the proposed increase, they're not proposing to increase the building occupancy. It's just to provide some additional flexible space, but the building occupancy is not proposed to increase.
Okay.
Okay, I think, is that it?
Thank you.
Ron, you had,
Can we just go through our questions? Okay, sure.
yeah, Ron is going to,
He's asking to speak again.
oh, yeah, yeah, we're gonna, we'll ask, is it an answer to a question that,
No, I just want to know, he said building capacity, but he didn't say campus capacity.
okay, I think we're going to address that in just a minute. Yeah, Ron?
Through the chair, my question is to the, my question is to the planner. What is the number of people who participate at this camp now? Like, do they have a congregation of 100, 200, 300? Like, does it vary from weekend to week time? And, just more information as to what their background is.
So through the chair, I can provide a partial response to that. And we had this discussion with staff during our pre-consultation as well about the nature of the operation. And essentially, it is owned by the Palgrave Fellowship of Christians, and their group is the primary user, but they do have opportunities for other groups to rent the site, rent the cabins, run their own camps. So in that regard, yes, it does fluctuate from week to week, from day to day. In terms of what the actual congregation is for the Palgrave Fellowship of Christians, I don't have that number at my fingertips, but Mr. Van Stralen may be able to provide that.
Okay, yes, go ahead, Julius. Are
there's
you
Mr.
asking a
Bill.
question? No?
I was just wondering if Mr. Van Stralen was going to answer his question.
Oh.
He's somewhere and.
Yeah, I'm here. Currently, yeah, I don't have the exact numbers, but currently the Palgrave Fellowship of Christians membership would be around 200. I don't have the exact numbers, but that would be fairly close.
Ron?
Further to my question, are there existing accommodations for the 200 at present? Like, my understanding is that there's supposed to be
No,
accommodations for people at this camp. Now,
Yeah, there is
now
accommodations.
the houses, to my knowledge, some of these houses that were built for accommodations, people are living in them permanently. So I'm just wondering if there is enough accommodations, or is this new building to accommodate the people?
No, there's nothing in the plans in the new building for accommodation.
But
It's just expanding and making it more modern. It's very dated and old and run down. So it's all about improving the building and being able to use it. But no, there is no new accommodations being proposed in that building.
Okay, I have a few questions about that. And we said, how many people are using this camp? I went out to see on the site visit that we're required to do, and I expected to see a facility with children at a summer camp, and there was actually nobody there on Monday at all when I went into the property to see it. And so I'm puzzled now whether we're still running a camp. I looked at the definition of campers in the 2001 township letter, which explains that the township is not in the position of defining what a camper is, but they did say that it's expected that it's an organized group of people and not ad hoc people off the street coming to stay in a cabin overnight. And I really don't have much of a feel. I looked at the website, and nowhere on the website does it say camp, or does it say children, which was the original purpose of this when it was founded. And I understand that we've gone through some iterations, and I would have to agree that the accessory uses have become the primary uses of this, because I do not see the facility for what we would understand as a camp of any kind. So how many people are there using this camp annually? How many are there at one time? Do you have people staying there overnight? Are they organized groups of people? What has happened that suddenly there's a sports complex, the sports field, with some sort of store associated with it, and you're advertising a store and a cafe on the premises. So again, it seems to me that we've gone quite far from the original purpose of this with the legal non-conforming use as a camp. Are there actual residences? There was a question from one of our counselors on the committee. Are people living there permanently? Is there a permanent store? And what is the use of the other buildings? I see that one of the conditions that the planning department has put on this is that we are shown, and it's proven, that what is the condition and state of the other buildings? Were they built with permits? If we had all of this fill brought in for a sports complex, was that under permit? It seems to me that there's an awful lot going on that property that is kind of distancing itself from the original purpose of a camp. And I would like to be assured that, what can you tell me about the number of people, the number of campers, the number of people on the site at any one time? Who is staying in those accommodations? Are they staying as part of an organized group, as it says in the letter from the township, to be recognized as a campsite? There's not very much to me that shows that there's a camp on this property and that it is being operated as a campsite with these other buildings just being accessories to that as the principal use. And I would have to agree as well, as saying if we're getting a 42% increase, even if it is not very much compared to the size of the entire site, that's the 42% increase in what is a legal non-conforming use. And there is already a gym there as part of it. It's visible on the website. You have a lot of other buildings, it seems, that could be used for storage. So I'm absolutely not clear on this, where the camp exists, how the camp is operating, and who's going to be using this expanded facility, all the while being cognizant of the fact that it's all the time it's a legal non-conforming use. So can I have an explanation and an answer on explain to me how this is a camp?
So I'll do my best. There was a lot to respond to in there, and so my apologies, and through the chair to yourself. Apologies if I missed anything, and I'd be happy to follow up if I did miss anything, if you remind me. In terms of the first thing I wanted to speak about was you talked about it being a children's camp. Now that's not quite accurate. That 2001 planning letter did identify and confirm that there were also adults present right from the inception of this camp. Video has stopped working. I trust my sound is still coming through. But yeah, so that 2001 letter does identify that there were adults as well. So adults have always been part of this operation, even under the previous ownership and operation, I guess, of the camp. So in terms of that, that was part of it. And towards the end, you were talking about the size of increase to the building. Now, this is not a minor variance under Section 45(1) of the Planning Act. This is a minor variance under it was other powers of the committee. So you shouldn't even consider minor variance as a term, because it is really other powers of the committee is what the Planning Act says. So there is no requirement for it to be minor. Statutory, like the Planning Act does not say this needs to be minor at all. That being said, however, I will speak to that because the definition or the way minor is to be applied, and it has been found by committees of adjustment throughout the province, by the various appeal bodies, is that minor is not a numerical calculation, because that does not tell the story. The story is what is the context, what is the impact. You could have a 0.1% increase on some theoretical something that would have a huge impact on neighbors. That would not be maybe minor. You could have something such as this, where it is a more substantial expansion to the building, but what is the impact to the neighbors? What is the impact to the natural features? I would argue it's very limited, because we're not increasing the number of people coming to the property. We're not increasing the intensity of the use. We are not increasing the amount of traffic. None of that is happening. We're not increasing the amount of time per day that's being used. We're just making a building more usable. And again, to that end, you consider this, a similar situation, an analogy. There are many people out there who want to build onto their home, who want an expansion, not because their family's expanding, although that does happen, but lots of people go through operation or go through processes where they expand their own buildings, expand their own houses, even if the intensity is not going to change. They say want a bigger kitchen, they want a bigger living room. They want something a little bit better that works better than something that was constructed for 50 years ago. And that's really the situation we're in. These buildings were constructed a long time, and needs change, even if the intensity and occupancy of the use has not. So I think I touched on everything there, but if I forgot anything, please.
No, there's some fundamental things here about if you can tell me why it's called a camp. Why are we still, after all this time, and I understand what you've said, and it is in the letter that some of the campers were adults. That's fine, but they're still talking about campers, and I still do not see, and you did not answer my question about who uses it, how many people do you have, what are the number of campers going through that site? How are we still to believe that this is a campsite? And again, I appreciate what you said about we're not looking at a numerical value for a minor increase. But again, you already have a very large gymnasium in that building. You can see it on your website. It looks to be in very good shape. So again, I do not see the relationship between a camp per se and all of the other things that have been going on there. We've been told, without much of it being done over the years, without any kind of permit or consultation or just something happening after the fact, including something like the creation of a soccer field in what is adjacent to a wetland. So I understand we're looking at expansion of a legal non-conforming use, but I have a problem maintaining that that is still a consistent use over time, that this is in fact a camp facility, and all you want to do is expand the size of the gymnasium. There's an awful lot of other things going on there. The residences, does someone live there permanently? Is it more than one person? We're told that a groundskeeper lives there permanently, but you do have other houses. You have quite a few cabins, and we really don't understand the nature of the business here as a camp. You only have 200 members of your fellowship, which is not a very large group of people. This is a very large facility. And again, I understand, and it happens that you rent it out for use by other people, but not all of that can be construed as a camp. I think we're starting to stretch the original use and trying to force fit it onto what it's being used for today. So do you have any other comments from any members of the committee? Horace?
A couple things that was mentioned, that we're not looking at minors in figures. We're looking at an upgrade. So if this is an upgrade, why do we need to expand? Can we not just upgrade without expanding? Because you mentioned that we're not having more occupancy. So there's not a need for, it's just to make it more flexible, right? So why not just upgrade without increasing? And then through the chair to the planner, at what point from a legal non-conforming, I guess, approval, at what point do you keep increasing and get to a limit to say, because if you increase this time around, 2 years later you come for another increase, 2 years later you come for another, at what point is there again, we're not looking at numbers, but something still has to be set in place. I would like to understand that.
Kartik, would you like to say something?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to clarify that even if this get approved, there is a site plan control application requirement after this. It is not directly a building permit application after this. And in the conditions of approval, we have tied the minor variance condition approval that they need to apply for site plan control application, and site plan control agreement will be tied to that 2001 letter, which limits the numbers of campers to 60 campers, which limits the staff member number to 25 to 35, and which has list of what could be considered primary use, what could a camp could be defined as, and what should be the list of accessory use. And that is our current condition of approval of minor variance, and that will be made part of the site plan control agreement. And right now there is no site plan agreement registered on the title for this property, but if this get approved after site plan control application, with which we will need a lot of technical studies and NHE and all that, which will also made part of the agreement. We can log the use, we can log all the structures which will be proven that are legal, which will not be proven illegal, cannot be made part of site plan control, or they may be legal by relocating them to compliant location or going through a new planning process.
Sorry, you're thinking about the cabins and those
Yeah,
other buildings?
yeah, we have a list of cabins in the 2001 letter. We have building permits in the property files, and we have to match all the documents and cross-check what are legal, and some of the documents we might receive from the applicant. Mm-hmm. And whatever final number will be negotiated, which are the final numbers of the legal structures, and what are the structures which were constructed illegally has to be removed. That all those things would be covered in site plan control application, and only the legal structures, only the findings of the technical reports, natural heritage evaluation, number of campers, the definition of camper, all that which has been defined loosely in 2001 letter, we will specify that, we will make it tighter and make it part of site plan control agreement, and that will finally be registered on title. And
So-
after that, they can apply for building permit.
So in that case, what you're doing is affecting, or putting into effect back what it started as, which was a camp. And the changes that have happened and all these other things now will be addressed now?
That is part of all the condition, that it will limit approval to the camp, accessory use previously recognized by the township, recurring confirmation of legal and established of all existing building structures, clarifying the approval does not authorize any unapproved uses, structures, activities, or future expansion. Staff also noted that any outstanding compliance or technical matters will be addressed through the site plan approval process and no other applicable process. And that those are covered under all the 4 conditions.
So what would the impact be if we are to say yes, and they go through a site plan approval, but you find that it isn't actually 60 campers using it and whoever? What happens at that point?
And there is one more condition that says if there is any new deficiency or non-compliance is identified, which is not covered under previous condition, they have to come back for another planning application. That could be a zoning bylaw amendment, that could be minor variance, that could be further application of expanding the legal non-conforming use. They have to come back for that further approval. Thank you.
Sorry, Ron?
Through the chair, my question is to Kartik. Okay, I'm looking at page 20 of the proposal. They're proposing this addition, but on the left-hand side of this, there's a future garage. And then the other issue I have is that how much of the existing is going to be grandfathered in? Because, I mean, we're talking 20-plus years ago with the information that the residents has just given us. And, I mean, we don't have a legal, I don't think we have any legal grounds to stand on when it comes to this, other than the fact that we may force them to bring everything up to standard. But we're not gonna be able to have them remove cabins and do everything else, or it's gonna be a major legal battle. Anyways, that's my concern.
Through Madam Chair, just wanted to confirm about that future garage is not part of this application. That might be just mislabeling on the site plan. The only proposed expansion to the main building is part of this application. Thank you.
But-
I know, but it's showing it on this drawing, why would you show it?
Which,
In our information on page 20, shows the addition, and then to the left, it shows a new garage.
Through Madam Chair, it's just 14 pages. That might be part of another application.
Yeah, we're page 11.
Page 20 and 47, I've got it.
Yeah, 11 of 14. I think you might have skipped by mistake to, this is the, well, so I guess while we're trying to see that, I had a question about the amount of parking that is shown on this particular sketch. That's not paved parking right now. Is that intended that would be paved parking at some time in the future? All that parking that shows all around the building? Is it a question to Tim, I guess? I'm not sure.
Through the chair, I can answer that. So there is existing gravel parking. We haven't discussed with staff if the changes that we need to make to the parking lot would be gravel or asphalt. So that is yet to be determined. The reason we're showing more parking now is because we realize even right now, the building's there. The bylaw has been updated since this was constructed. The bylaw now requires substantially more parking than is on site. Whether the use actually needs that extra parking or not is a different matter, but the bylaw itself. So we were just trying to make sure that we showed on the site plan for now something that fully complied with the bylaw. But that will be reviewed and further through the site plan.
But that would result in quite a lot of more development all in that one corner if you were, for example, to pave all of those parking spaces. That is.
Through the chair, yes, it potentially could. But again, we were just looking at getting the building expansion going now, and as we process the site plan, if staff are in agreement that we don't need as much parking as we're showing here, then we may have to come back to seek a parking reduction. But these are conversations we haven't had with staff yet.
Okay. Julius, did you want to?
Yes, through the chair. I'm just confused at the whole process here. It seems like we're doing things backwards. In my personal opinion, like it seems like all the other issues on this property should be taken care of first before you decide that you're going to go ahead. We're gonna okay a minor variance, and then they're gonna have to go through what seems like a whole lot more of going through planning and going through that. Like, why would we not? Why isn't it done wouldn't be done the opposite way, where it's like, well, let's figure out what's going to be there, what's going to be removed, what's legal, what's not legal. We're talking about a general store on a property and things like that. That's would be my question to planning. Like, why aren't we doing this the other way around? And having them figure all that out before we just give it an okay on a minor variance.
Yeah. Great. Okay.
If it's okay, could I just address the general store? There is no general store on site. That was just a little fundraiser idea that the kids had to sell ice creams and popsicles to the campers that came to the property. And also, there is no outside drive-by campers. It's always an organized group. You mentioned that you were there on Monday and there's no one there. We don't necessarily have it rented out 7 days a week. Sometimes it's just the weekend. Other times it's for a 7-day period to a certain group. But so it's not always occupied, but a good portion of the year it is, including the winter and fall and spring months. Okay. Usually mostly on weekends, but during the summer, a lot of the groups are, the weekends end during the week. But that varies. But there is no general store. That was just a little fundraising idea, I think about 10 years ago. But that lasted one summer and it didn't work that well for the campers that came. So yeah, there's no general store.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so my question to planning would be, why don't we make everything conforming before we decide that we're going to expand or do anything like that, would be my question, I guess.
Through Madam Chair, the planning is taking the 2001 letter as a base of what are the permitted legal non-conforming use, and we are kind of contemplating expansion based on that 2001 letter. And we were made aware by the neighbors and that there might be a possibility of some structures being constructed illegally, and then there might be possibility of bringing the fill. That is kind of a bylaw or building department concern that they had to investigate, and they had to confirm to us, was there any activity related to that, and is there any illegal activity related to building departments, like building constructed without building permit or any bylaw enforcement concern. But as far as planning is concerned, and as far as the letter, the report that we prepared, we use 2001 letter as a base, and we are not kind of proposing or kind of supporting any expansion which we are not sure about, and we are contemplating site plan, future proposal of site plan application with respect to 2001 letter.
Yes.
Only. Thank you.
So did we investigate on what fill was brought in at all?
So, Madam Chair, that again.
If I can just mention the fill, sorry. This is Tim Venstrom. If I could just mention the fill was fully permitted under the MVCA in the town, and we had to submit paperwork for that.
Okay. I think we don't have enough information. It is.
And I do believe, I don't know of any buildings on the property that weren't permitted either.
Okay, well, I don't either,
It seems to
which
be
is
a
the
big
biggest
issue,
problem,
yeah.
unfortunately.
Can we defer the decision until we have this information? Because I understand it's not part of the actual decision, but it gives us a picture of the whole property and what's actually happening.
Yeah, and I would be in agreement there. I don't want to deny this or allow it, but I believe we're missing a whole bunch of information here.
Through Madam Chair, as per our procedural bylaw, committee can decide to defer the application with, they can state a reason, and we have a fixed timeline within our procedural bylaw, and within which timeline they have to satisfy that decision and bring back the application. Thank you.
Well, I would personally agree with that. I believe there's not enough information here on what has happened, and obviously new information has been brought forward that wasn't on the report, and I think that would be our best route.
Yeah.
I'd
Right.
like to see the permits.
So
Right,
I would
so
put a motion forward to defer.
To defer, all right. Do I have a seconder? John? All right, all those in favor? Okay, this motion carried to defer.
You have to read the whole decision.
I have to read the
and-
whole thing, I'm
Thank you.
sorry. Here we are. I'm sorry. Item A-15-26, the property at 1713 Concession Road 2, Adjala-Tosorontio. Sorry. In the matter of subsection 45-2 of the Planning Act, and in the matter of concession 2, North Part Lot 6 in the Township of Adjala-Tosorontio, County of Simcoe, and in the matter of the application of the Palgrave Fellowship of Christians as owners of the aforesaid land for expansion of legal nonconforming use under the Planning Act. And whereas the Township of Adjala-Tosorontio's Committee of Adjustment, having conferred with all applicable agencies and persons as prescribed by the Planning Act, and having had regard to permit the expansion of an existing legal non-conforming camp use and accessory uses through a 355.9 meter squared addition to the existing multi-use building. B, and do I have a mover and a seconder for, I think I can just go for deferral? John and Ron, and all those in favor of deferring? Okay, that's carried.
Through Madam Chair, you have to state the reason of deferral also, that would
The
be.
reasons for the decision is that the committee would like more information on the status of the existing site, the buildings, the permits, the situation on the sports field, the things that you have identified as one of the clauses for approval. We would like more information on the status of those things. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. All right. The next item, application B-08-24, the property at 3754 and 3670 Concession Road 4 of Adjala-Tosorontio. Kartik, would you give us a brief explanation of this application, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. These are like three concurrent applications. First application is boundary adjustment. The applicant proposed a boundary adjustment between 3670, which is a lot on south side, and 3754, which is a lot on north side. The agriculture parcel at 3670 would increase from approximately 10 hectares to 85 hectares and continue to be used as agricultural, while the parcel at 3754 Concession Road 4 would be reduced to approximately 1 hectare and continue to support the permission of residential. No new lot is created. The proposal consolidates the agricultural land base, directs future residential development away from natural heritage features and hazard lands, and staff are satisfied that it constitutes boundary adjustment consistent with the PPS legal and technical reasons. The second application is for severance. Following the boundary adjustment, the reconfigured agricultural parcel, that is 85 hectare approximate, would be divided into two agricultural lots of 44.8 hectares and 40.7 hectares. The proposed lot line generally follows a natural division between soil types and existing irrigation infrastructure, reflecting current farming practices and supporting the continued agricultural operation. Both the lots exceed the township's and county's minimum agricultural lot size requirements, and staff is satisfied that proposal is consistent with PPS policies. And the third and the last application is for the easement. The applicant proposed a 20-meter wide easement over the proposed severed lot in the favor of the retained lot to provide continued legal access to existing agricultural infrastructure, including a laneway, pump house, transformer, buried hydro line, and irrigation system. The easement will also permit future maintenance and servicing of this infrastructure. No development is proposed within the easement, and staff are satisfied the proposal is consistent with the provincial planning statement. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the applicant or an agent here to provide any comments?
Good evening, Madam Chair and members, committee members, and members of the public. My name is Jamie Robinson, and I'm a partner and planner with MHBC Planning, and I'm the planning consultant for the applicant. I've got a fairly brief presentation. I probably won't go through the whole thing, but there's a few items I'd just like to highlight for members of the committee. Can you just proceed to the next slide, please? So the existing lot fabric's identified on the screen right now. There's two lots that currently exist. If you'd like to go to the next slide, please. So effectively, there's two lots in the previous figure. There's a blue lot and a green lot, is how I effectively like to look at things. So what the application proposes to do is to shrink the green lot, which was the lot up on the upper half, into the 1 acre lot, or sorry, 1 hectare lot that's identified on concession road 4. So that green lot gets shrunk. The blue lot,
Well, it's gotta be like that. My apologies.
Sorry.
Am I okay to go? I don't need to start again here? Okay, perfect. So the blue lot then, which was the lot along the bottom that abuts the lots that back onto Small Lane, the blue lot's proposed to be modified to reflect the blue that's on the screen right now. And then effectively, there's an agricultural severance that goes on with the blue and the pink, with the pink lot being the new lot that gets created here. Both the blue and the pink do exceed the minimum lot size requirement for an agricultural lot. So there's a couple of reasons that this whole lot reconfiguration is being proposed. One is that the lands that are to the north, or the blue area, those are good lands for potato farming and for that type of farmland. The lands that are in the pink are not good for potato farming. It's rocky and there's a hill there. There's a very distinct difference between those two land types. So my clients, the Vanderzags, which are in attendance this evening, they are potato farmers. So and you've got that unique lot line that's identified in a circular pattern. That's to reflect the pivot arc that services that area. So the idea is to sever the agricultural lands based on the two different soil types that support different agricultural uses. And then what would happen is the lands that are identified in pink or purple, those would be conveyed to a neighboring farmer who does not farm potatoes but does cash cropping and would support that farming. So when we look at the PPS and we look at the county official plan and we look at the township official plan, those documents do support the protection of agricultural land for agricultural uses. The historic lot fabric in the area is the traditional sort of 100-acre farm parcel or traditional lot fabric, which doesn't consider soil typology or the types of crops that might grow in the area based on that soil typology, and this proposed consent application does recognize that. The second first unique aspect in summary is the sort of configuration of the lots and the irregular pattern of the lots, but it's really to reflect the soil types and the type of farming and the fact that you've got a pivot arc there. The second unique aspect of this application relates to water that's drawn from the river at the southern end of the site. That's a current situation. There's currently water that gets drawn from the southern end of the site that gets pumped up a pipe that flows underground to the pivot arc that services the pivot arc. So the proposed blue lot would extend down to the river, and there's an area where there's a pump house and a transformer in that location, which would help to allows for the improvement of that agricultural soils, which make better use of the agricultural lands to the north. So the unique lot configuration is really to provide better opportunities and better enhancement of agricultural lands, if I was to sort of summarize them in short. But what the benefit too is there ends up with being an additional residential lot or rural residential lot, which is the lot that's identified in green. There has been an environmental review done of the lands because there was identified as lands having potential environmental constraint along the southern property line. So there's been a delineation of where those lands are, and through the staff report, there's also a recommendation that a slope stability study potentially be completed if development's proposed in specific areas of that green lot, which there is a substantial building envelope outside of that area that could be subject to instability or slope instability. But out of an abundance of caution, that condition's been applied and we're fully supportive of that condition. The last thing I'd just like to touch on relates to the comments that have been provided by neighboring residents. There's been some concerns expressed with respect to environmental features, with respect to agricultural land, with respect to farming practices and future potential impacts on the neighboring properties. In short, this application does propose a reconfiguration of lot lines, but doesn't propose any additional land uses outside of the residential lot that's proposed in the area that's identified in green. And that area is well set back and well separated from those land uses that exist, from the residential or rural residential land uses that exist to the south of the property. So in short, there's really no change to what's occurring on those properties. There's just a redelineation. So if someone were to walk down the road or drive down the road, or if you're a deer in the field, you wouldn't notice anything different in the landscape outside of there would be new iron bars and new property lines that existed. So from a compatibility perspective, there's no real impacts on land use compatibility generated as a result of these consent applications. So in closing, we have reviewed the PPS, we have reviewed the county plan, we have reviewed the township official plan and have provided a report in support of that. We have reviewed the staff's planning report, and we do agree with the conclusions that are outlined in the report, as well as all of the conditions that are outlined within the staff report. So with that, Madam Chair, if there's any questions of council, I would be happy to do my best to answer those. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Did we have are there any members of we'll get to the questions in a moment. Are there any members of the public here who would like to comment on this application? All right. Oh, there is. Oh, sorry.
Hello, everyone. Madam Chair, I don't know the proper terms to use, but my name is Trevor. We reside at 8491 Small Lane, and 8481, which is one of those properties that are right along the southern border. And the gentleman before talked about the concern for the residents and how there's no change to the use of that lot. So right now the lot is covered in a lot of old growth trees, grassed areas, and that was our concern. How it's reconfigured and how water is drawn and spread throughout the lot is not the concern. The concern is for the residents. And if you can see, there's about 24 permanent residents south of Small Lane. And if that property, the reconfigured Lot 1, is ever cash cropped, what will the impact be to the residents is the primary concern. Primarily because cash cropping is most profitable when there's, I'm not a farmer, pardon my ignorance, Homer, when there's tile draining that's involved, fertilizers, herbicides, what have you. So the concern would be the impact of all that use on the southern end of the land and how it impacts the residents. What happens up above and growing potatoes and irrigation, great. I mean, you got to make the lands better. So I noticed there's a black snake or a black shaded line. How did that appear? How did that come about?
Through Madam Chair, that's the existing open space conservation zone.
So I noticed it's not highlighted in the location map, the existing. So it looks like the black was added.
Through Madam Chair, that location map is just aerial image. That black is like a designation colored part just to show what that open space conservation zoning is on that area. Thank you.
Okay, so it currently exists?
Yeah, that zoning is currently open space conservation. It is a current applicable zoning on that black area.
And so that means that it's protected in how it operates? Sorry?
I think it's the hill.
No, actually, all the brown is the hill. All that brown area is the hill, from what I understand. Right, that barn, you can see under the A, is basically the top of the hill. So the black is the bottom of the hill.
Yeah, so, sorry, what is your concern with this?
Well, the concern is how do we implement protection for the residents from farming within 15 meters of people's doors? How do we do that?
Kartik, is it farmed right now? No.
Yeah.
So do we know what will happen with that? Right up to the boundary, that's the concern.
Through Madam Chair.
Yes.
So the entire, if I may just go over. Everything in this area is to be zoned open environment conservation, so that's all protected land. It can't be used for agricultural purposes, so it will stay wooded.
Great.
Everything to the north that's currently farmed would continue to be farmed.
Oh, cool. So that'll all be the open space conservation.
Yeah, this is all, so right now it's not zoned like
Right.
that, and this application adds a protection zoning to that, so it stays in that.
Okay, is that, did I miss that in this?
It's the condition, it's the requirement under number 5, which is the exception. So this application today doesn't do that. There's a subsequent zoning application that'll come to council.
Right.
If this gets approved, which would do that.
Got it. So that whole, just to reiterate.
Just to, if I just want to clarify through Madam Chair, that the open space conservation part is just dark plat snake plague part. The shaded part is agricultural exception to prohibit just residential use.
Oh, okay.
Not the agricultural use.
Okay.
Agricultural use is permitted as of right, and it is not. We are not prohibiting it further. It is being controlled by the Greenland designation overlay, which is existing and which will continue to exist, and that might trigger the clearance of tree or clearing that area for agricultural purposes with respect to submission of environmental report or some study that could be asked for by county, Simcoe County's Forestry Department. But right now it is in our zoning, it is zoned agricultural, and agricultural permissions are permitted as of right. Thank you.
Thanks for clarifying.
Okay, just to clarify, I don't do this every day, right? Okay, so the crosshatch that's currently labeled as lands to be rezoned agricultural exception A-XX, that will remain in OSC, like protected the way it is. It'll just stay the way it is.
I can explain.
Great.
This part is open space conservation, not the shaded part.
Right.
Shaded part is agriculture zoned, and it will be agriculture exception zone because as per NVC there are some hazard there, and there are maybe this area could be flooded, so that's why we are prohibiting whole this area for residential development. But we have no evidence to stop that area to be continuing for agricultural use. But as of now, there is no agricultural use being exercised on this area,
Right.
and there is no any agricultural use proposed on this area. They need an environmental study because there is a Greenland designation as well on this area. That will need environmental study to clear that area for future agricultural use. But the permission as it exists. But the use itself on the site doesn't exist.
Okay, but it sounds like the plan will keep it, the future plans will be to keep it that way.
Correct.
Yeah? All right. High five. Great. That was it. That was the concern.
Excellent. Glad we were able to resolve that for you.
Yeah, it's clear now. Thank you, everyone.
That's all right.
Can't say that.
Do we have any questions from the committee? Julius?
Thank you, through the chair. Just wondering about the green portion there, the reconfigured lot 2, and why is that just not going to be left agricultural?
I think it is.
So based on the configuration of these lots, we were able to do the lot line adjustment and still meet the lot area requirements for 2 agricultural severances. So, and there's no net increase in the number of dwellings that would otherwise be permitted in this area as a result of this severance. So that's the reason why it was done in this manner.
But the northern part, the lot 2, is going to be all agriculture, right? That's
Correct.
Yeah. Does that answer your question, Julie? Ron, in the meantime?
Yes, to a
Yes?
certain degree. Ideally, this is, from what I can see, 2/3 of it would be considered prime agricultural. I'm just wondering why it's not gonna be retained as agricultural land.
This one?
Can you just go
I
back to
I could be wrong if it's not prime
Can you go back to the
agricultural.
previous figure there,
The,
please?
the green lot or
The green lot.
the smallest one?
That's the
Correct.
house. That's
It was,
the new house.
I don't know what page I'm on. I am on
it
page.
was where the green lot is, it was a 10. It was 10 hectares before, and you reduced it to 1, right?
Yeah, it's, so,
That's, and then you increased it to the bottom part in order to make them 2 separate parcels.
yeah, we've effectively adjusted the lot lines in accordance with what the official plan allows us to do from a lot area perspective. To maintain agricultural land, to make the best use of agricultural land. And we end up also with this additional rural residential lot as a result of it. And it's all in keeping with the permitted uses, so
No,
that's
I just
effectively why
wanted
we-
clarification there.
Right.
Thank you.
Is that all right? Any other questions? No? Okay, are we ready to move on to a decision? Okay. A decision for application B-08-24. And as we were told at the beginning, there are 3 concurrent, and we have to vote on each one separately. So we'll do the first one. In the matter of Section 53 of the Planning Act, and in the matter of Concession 3, Part Lot 23 and 24, and Concession 3, East Part Lot 22, includes RP 51R26402, Part 3, in the Township of Adjala-Tosorontio, County of Simcoe. And in the matter of the application of H.J. Vanderzag Farms and Harrison Garrett Vanderzag as applicant for consent severance under the Planning Act. And whereas the Township of Adjala-Tosorontio's Committee of Adjustment, having conferred with all applicable agencies and persons as prescribed by the Planning Act, and having had regard to those matters prescribed in the Planning Act, has decided that the request to adjust the boundary between 3754 and 3670 Concession Road 4, thus increasing address 3670 from approximately 4.04 hectares to approximately 85 hectares agricultural, and reducing address 3754 from 76.36 hectares to approximately 1 hectare residential B. And do I have a mover and seconder for approval for the severance? Ron and Julius, all those in favor? Okay, motion is carried. The next one, B-09-24. The purpose to sever of the reconfigured 85.40 hectare parcel at 3670 Concession Road 4 into 44.8 hectares severed Lot 1 and 40.7 hectares retained Lot 2, both for agricultural use. Do we need to discuss, or are we clear on what this next one is? All right. For a decision for application B-09-24, in the matter of Section 53 of the Planning Act, and in the matter of Concession 3, Part Lot 23 and 24, and Concession 3, East Part Lot 22, includes RP 51R26402, Part 3, in the Township of Adjala-Tosorontio, County of Simcoe. And in the matter of application of H.J. Vanderzag Farms and Harrison Garrett Vanderzag as applicant for consent severance under the Planning Act. And whereas the Township of Adjala-Tosorontio's Committee of Adjustment, having conferred with all applicable agencies and persons as prescribed by the Planning Act, and having had regard to sever of the reconfigured 85.40 hectare parcel at 3670 Concession Road 4 into approximately 44.8 hectares severed Lot 1 and approximately 0.7 hectares retained Lot 2, both for agricultural use B. And could I have a mover and seconder for approval? Julius and John, and those carried, please. Motion is carried. Thank you. And the last part of this, application B-04-26, property 3754 and 3670 Concession Road 4, Adjala-Tosorontio. And this is to create a 20-meter wide easement over severed Lot 1 in favor of retained Lot 2 to maintain access to an existing pump house and buried hydro line for irrigation and servicing. Are there any questions on the easement? We did not discuss this. That's all right to go ahead. We will now move on to a decision for application B-04-26. In the matter of Section 53 of the Planning Act, and in the matter of Concession 3, Part Lot 23 and 24, and Concession 3, East Part Lot 22 includes RP 51R26402, Part 3, in the Township of Adjala-Tosorontio, County of Simcoe. And in the matter of the application of H.J. Vanderzag Farms and Harrison Garrett Vanderzag as applicant for consent severance under the Planning Act. Whereas the Township of Adjala-Tosorontio's Committee of Adjustment, having conferred with all applicable agencies and persons as prescribed by the Planning Act, and having had regard to create a 20-meter wide easement over severed Lot 1 in favor of retained Lot 2 to maintain access to an existing pump house and buried hydro line for irrigation and servicing, B. And can I have a mover and seconder for approval? Julius and Ron. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. Do we have any new?
No.
No, wait. So I now declare this meeting adjourned at 7:40 PM.